Great finish there, right at the end. I'm sure you'd have been wanting to get out there on the pitch, but a ball into the cross. You must be happy with the way you finished that one.
I'm happy with my finish, but not so happy with the draw because I know we deserved the win because we were fighting. Unfortunately, just the days comes when you're a bit unlucky. Maybe the intensity was not exactly there what it should be. But yeah, we were fighting. In the end, we got a draw, which is really important.
Yeah, both teams came into this in such good form. What does it say, though, about your team that you can go behind in games and right at the depth go and get an equaliser and take a point back to Manchester?
Because we are a great team together, you know. We are working together no matter what is happening. If we are behind, if we are in front, we're always fighting. As I said again, today was important to get this draw because it was a difficult game for us. They were dangerous on the counter-attacks when they took a ball. But we managed to finish it with 1-1.
Spoke to your manager before. He said that he wanted this group to feel like a team. How is the spirit at the minute? Because you're on such a good run, another draw today, another point. How does the collective group feel at the minute?
No, we feel amazing. We are breathing for each other, doing everything together. When difficult moments comes, we are stepping together, which is really important and can lead to the results like they are right now.
I know you said you wish you wanted to win today, of course, but from a personal note, goals makes players way more confident. What can you take from today to hopefully bring you and your team over and towards the end of the season and get yourself more goals?
I think we just have to keep on going like we were doing the last games. We have to keep in mind that we have to breathe for each other, and we have to take care in every single situations, every second of the game, to be focused, to be on point, and obviously when the chances are coming, to finish them.
Well done, Save. Thank you. Michael left it late to get something from the game today. What did you make from your team's performance?
We were okay. I think we were a bit disappointed. We definitely went at our best. And it's them times when you're really probably not totally at your best where you can find a way and you obviously keep a clean sheet and maybe take the game and move on. But so a little bit frustrated with that. We've had 5 games now and we've been at a really good level. It's a tough place to come. They made it difficult and we just didn't quite have that sharpness or that spark really to find the answers too often. But in the end, big credit to the boys. The spirit again in the late goal, and when we needed it, it's a great quality to have. We'll take the point and we'll move on.
On the spirit, before you spoke about wanting the group to be a team, you needed the whole collective tonight, and it was Benjamin Šeško pops up with that lovely finish.
Yeah, fantastic finish. He's done it again. It's important. It's important. We threw everything at it at the end and kind of had a lot of forwards on the pitch and probably could put a little bit, probably a few more balls in the box if we're honest, really, around and with the players that we've got. And Josh had a chance that just went wide and great finish from Benji. So delighted for him again. Another big goal for him and a good step.
It was always 2 teams in great form coming into today. After the disappointment of not taking all 3 points, do you feel like it will be a good point, hard worked from your group tonight?
Yeah, listen, from where we are and being together for a short space of time, I think we've obviously had big highs of the results and the wins, and I think there's times when it doesn't quite go to plan and you've got to take what you can from it, and in the end we've took a draw tonight. So it was a tough game, didn't come easy. Sometimes football doesn't come easy and you've got to find a way, and tonight we found a way to take a point, and as I said, we'll move on from that and take some positives from it.
No, there'll be no room for any sentiment tonight, but West Ham, they've had a good run of form, but they're in a difficult patch. I'm sure you'd like to see them to get out of the situation they're in. Yeah,
for sure. Now we're kind of done with them now, and I'd love them to stay up. It's a big part of my life and grown up and great memories here. So hopefully they do.
Thanks. Safe trip.
Cheers. Good word, that.
I don't know what it means.
I think mixed, to be honest. Mixed feelings. I think we know we weren't quite at our best. I think credit West Ham for that, a little bit of closing certain spaces up, but I think we can be better. The boys are a bit frustrated and disappointed probably with that, which is a really good sign for me. And then finishing with a late goal when we've had to find one is a good moment and another positive for us to know that we can do that, and we don't want to have to pull on it and use it too often, but I think in the grand scheme, I think as a point, something where we can take, and we kind of dust ourselves down a little bit, assess it, take these games over a 5-game period, and to just have one draw in there, I think is a big positive. So mixed feelings really.
You gambled at the end in the last 10 minutes when you got 6, you went 3 at the back, but you missed and they got second. That was worth it to get it.
It's always worth it, yeah. It's always worth it to try and get something out of the game. I think I have to say credit to Lenny. I thought his two bits of defending 1v1 and defending the counter attack, which we knew he was going to have to do at times, throwing the bodies forward. I thought them 2 moments where he's blocked and were huge moments, and so he deserves a lot of credit for that, to give us the chance to then go and get the goal that'll kind of get something out of the game. And we had moments. Josh had a chance. Obviously Casemiro had the chance, which I'm not seeing it, but must have been close. And then big moment for Ben. So yeah, we had to go for it. We had to try and get something out of the game. And credit to the lads for keep going.
Hi, Michael. How much thought did you give to starting Benjamin tonight? He's obviously made an impact off the bench a few times. And did you consider bringing him on any of it? It felt for a while like you were missing that kind of focal point of the striker tonight, not the build-up play tonight. So kind of missing that. Yeah,
it's always the balance. I think the boys have done fantastically well who have played as well. So it's that's the importance of the whole group and the importance of the squad. And I've said it. I've said it to them after every game. And I only say it because it's that important. And as I said, Lenny's come on and made a big difference for us tonight in big moments, and then Ben scored again. So Ben's doing a lot of work. He's in a good place. He's ready to kick on. It's just managing the kind of the balance, And we could have changed things a little bit earlier. That's obviously the decision. We're always trying to make the right one, and we're actually having a bit of a spell in the game at that point where we thought we might come back into it, and Casemiro's goal, and so there's a balance. But certainly when he came on the pitch, he made a big difference.
Andy? Hi Michael, it's the first time you've not had like a full week into a game. How much did the difference did that make in terms of preparation and performance?
No, that is what it is. That didn't make a difference for us. I think we know how hard it is to put a run together in this league. Every team shows that. It's not easy to build and win every game, So sometimes you got to pull on different things. Sometimes it naturally comes and it flows, and you get everything clicks and you look really dangerous and there's a spark. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult, as Simon says, maybe a little bit stodgy, but it's sometimes it just doesn't quite work. You got to find the answers and find a way. And listen, we prefer to doing it with a clean sheet. I think if we were really at it, we'd have a clean sheet and give us a chance of winning the game. That's the frustrating one, really, with a goal that we conceded from a flow that was kind of in at their corner. That's but sometimes you got football throws things up and you got to do it. So as I said, in the grand scheme of things, we've managed to take something from it and move on.
Rob and then Carl.
Just on Ben, it's obviously a big move for a young striker to come to the Premier League, and at times before he arrived he was a little bit short of confidence, but he's come up with 2 massive goals for you now, and the finish tonight, it looks like the finish of someone who's really money for years. Yeah, it's an unbelievable finish from the angle to kind of generate that, to get it on target, to finish it. It's some goal from him, and he's capable of that, Ben. He's done it over time. It's not that he's just suddenly burst on the scene. He's been doing it. He's proven that he can score goals as well, and he's been doing it in training for us as well. So it's not surprising, to be honest. I think that's what he does. It's what he's good at, but certainly to be actually do it and to feel it. As I said, the last one would have done him the world of good. The winner tonight, a little bit different with the emotion of the game, but certainly important and a big moment for him and us.
He's often described as a midfielder who doesn't always make the highlight reel. As someone who used to be a midfielder is now a coach. Could you explain that sort of player to the layman, to any young players out there? I
think he just plays his role in the team, Cobby. I think he's playing next to Casemiro. I think they've got a really good partnership and kind of complement each other. And basically, as a midfielder, you're trying to connect the team and you're trying to bring everything together, whether that's with the ball, without the ball. And he certainly takes the ball. I think we all realise that he'll take the ball everywhere and he'll connect the whole team. And He's not always going to be the one that maybe has the final action, but he certainly starts a lot of our moves, and he's having a big impact on the team at the moment, which is great to see.
During your playing days, Rio Ferdinand was once asked why you like playing with you, and he simply said, "I like Michael Carrick because he passes the ball for me." When you're up against a team like West Ham who sat deep, how hard is it to get the ball forward?
Yeah, it's challenging because listen, we're all craving for it. You know, I'm on the side of the pitch, and you're wanting them moments where you can open them up and you can be really positive. I think there's that balance as well of a team like that who are so dangerous on transition and on regains and turnovers with the pace they have and the way that they can attack so fast. So there's a real element of getting the balance between risking passes through the middle or risking a pass to then give away to then try. So you've got to be in. As much as you want to go and progress, you still got to be in a position to manage the game and have an element of control. And we probably just went a little bit more in terms of the control tonight at times, but that's something we'll get towards. And the fact that we still scored the goal at the end, you know, I think we can't be too down or too disappointed. I think there's you got to understand the context of the game and where we're at, and we can still take a lot from the game.
Chris, and then last one for Nathan.
Hi Michael. You haven't got a game for a little while now, so just wondering what's the plan for the next couple of weeks? Stay in Manchester or getting away?
Yeah, I stay in Manchester. I think it's a chance to do a bit of both, of refresh a little bit. A few boys carrying knocks and niggles and a few strains that we can kind of clean up as you would expect at this stage of the season, and then obviously do some good work. And I think they do need a little bit of a breather and kind of digest the way we're at really after this period of time. And take a deep breath and then come back, learn from it and kind of clear the head and come back stronger again. So it'll be a little mixed, but it's a strange one, obviously 13 days, but we'll definitely use it and make the most of it.
Late goals were a bit of a tradition at this club. Arsenal, West Ham, and Fulham seen that. Has that been a bit of a message from you to the players, or to always keep going?
I think it's a huge part of it. I think you've got to have that spirit, and then sometimes you've got to find a way, you know. And we all try and want the perfect kind of performance. Well, not perfect, but you know, the kind of best we can be. Sometimes it doesn't quite happen, but it doesn't mean you give up. And we obviously went for it. You know, we went free at the back, and the rest all attacking basically towards the end to try and find that goal. And I think that's the way we should do it at that moment. And we managed to pull it off. So I was delighted with the boys.
And Michael, just on the attack, you've got so much versatility, especially when Ben's on there, Brian, playing the left Bruno. How difficult is that to try and find the right balance? And obviously Ben has a slightly different game.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit on different games as well, and situation in games, and how you want to attack, where the space is or what the game looks like. We probably didn't quite get the balance right, if we're honest, you know, for the first part of the game. Which happens, you know, that happens, and sometimes, you know, teams are allowed to stop you from scoring, so we just got to find that way. But we kept going and mixed things up, and because we have got that flexibility, I think it certainly helps to find different solutions.
For him and West Ham, who once again can't keep a clean sheet.
Indeed, West Ham 1, Manchester United 1, then it is how it finishes, just to look at what that means at the top of the table. We'll discuss the ramifications at the bottom a little later on, but focusing now, Manchester United sitting fourth in the table, one clear of Chelsea, more on them a little later on. Liverpool, of course, in action later this week with a chance to close the ground between them and a Champions League place. For more, let's welcome in, shall we? Nathan Manua joins us, as does Stuart Robson. So they can't get the 5 in a row, Craig. 1-1's probably about right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It certainly wasn't one of the most swashbuckling games under Carrick. There's been a couple of them, but they've had a home crowd behind them. That's really pushed them on. They've played some good stuff. They were a little flat today and didn't quite look as sharp. West Ham obviously fighting for their lives. As later the game went on, they got more defensive. Nuno made some changes. They started camping on the edge of the box. They themselves had a couple of breaks at the end that they could have done better with in the final third. Callum Wilson could have made a better decision or two that could have maybe killed the game off. They didn't, and it was just a brilliant goal from a player who, I think when he came on, struggled with his all-round game, Benjamin Šeško. Yeah. So to see that finish from a player who, every time the ball went up to him, I mean, we were watching games and whatnot, but when the ball went up to him, it was kind of bouncing off him a little bit. To see that finish from that angle, it was it was one of the best finishes you'll see. I mean, from that perspective, West Ham can say, my God, I mean, we did most things right, and he scored the wonder goal, which he is. But listen, you got to keep clean sheets. West Ham are not doing it. And Man United, it's unbeaten, good spirit again, keep them going to the end. So that's another positive for them. And I suppose when you look at is that 5 games you said? I suppose when you look at the 5 games in their totality, from where they were, that's a very good return of points, even though they're playing a side that's currently in the relegation zone.
Any cause for concerns today, Robbo, for United?
The only thing I would say in the first half, Manchester United have been playing well because they've been getting the ball forward, they've been playing at a fast tempo, they've had runners in behind. But I was surprised that he played Mbeumo out on the left wing. So Cunha was playing centre forward, but always wanted to come short to receive the ball. Bruno Fernandes was playing quite high, but he only made one forward run, and that was in behind when he lifted it over the goalkeeper. And Ahmad was wide out on the right-hand side. So I was disappointed with the position that Mbeumo was playing, because he's the one player that gives you that threat in behind, keeps making those runs. And because there was nobody running in behind, Manchester United took too long on the ball, were too slow with their passing in that first half, and it allowed West Ham to do what they do quite well, or what they have done under Nuno Santos quite well, which was to defend quite deep. They got players behind the ball, and then they tried to play on the counter-attack, as he did at Nottingham Forest. So it was an okay performance from Manchester United, but not the sort of speed and intensity that we've seen from him in the previous 4 games.
Well, Cunha's quick, Robbo, isn't he? But he doesn't want to play on the shoulder. He doesn't want to play in behind. He wants to come short. He wants to drift. Absolutely. Where Brian Mbeumo, it's kind of natural for him to play to try and run in behind. If you watched him at the weekend, they went, particularly in the first half of the game, they went long quite a lot when they were pressed, and they went long and tried to go long and over the top from Lamans to Brian Mbeumo. So that was a little strange, and I agree with Stuart, we didn't see Bruno Fernandes in as good of positions since he's moved back into this 10 role as we have in all the other games, and maybe that's credit to West Ham, because maybe they were flooding that area and he was having to go and find these spaces. He was having to go and look for the ball more than he has been in games that have been a bit more open, and he's found some great spaces and he's really linked that midfield and forward line. We didn't really see that today. It wasn't a disaster for Man United, and they dug a point out, and they're very much in this race for Champions League football, which is, bearing in mind where we've been with this Ruben Amorim conversation when he was at the club, was kind of unthinkable in some sense. But it seems at the moment, Michael Carrick is getting a tune. Today was a small blip. But when you look at Liverpool's struggles, and when you look at Chelsea have dropped some points, and you look at the rest, Manchester United are very much in this race for Champions League football next year.
Just a bit of a blip, Nate, and that is generally how it feels, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. I think in the previous 4 games, you've seen them play a more expansive and exciting game of football at certain times. They've obviously been robust within that. But what I would say is this game against West Ham, because West Ham exists in a blind spot of so many of us, it's very easy to say, well, United should have done better. I think this is a West Ham side that in some ways turned a corner, made that sort of chase to try and survive more interesting. Because I think if United would have played them just a month ago, West Ham had just lost 3-0 away to Wolves and lost 2-1 at home to Nottingham Forest. But since then, we've seen them play well against Chelsea. We've seen them, say, batter Spurs, whatever that means these days, away from home. They've just won 2-0 away at Burnley quite comfortably just the other day. And I think you could hear from the crowd that they were really up for this game and they fancied their chances. So for United, in some ways, it's a reminder of how tough the Premier League can be as such. But as Craig said, they're right in there in the mix for the Champions League places. I think obviously when Carrick came in, there was potential for them to be up there, but they're very deserving of being there. Like, you look at the goal difference, and they've got one of the 4 best goal differences in the league. They are deserving of being in that position. And yes, it's not 5 wins in a row, so the guy has to cut his hair, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. They're still in the mix, they're in good form, and even though on a day like today they didn't manage to get the win, they still fought to the very end and found a result, and as a consequence, all those fans that travelled down, they still travel back up to Manchester now with a great sense of happiness. It's not perfect, but it still feels like it's heading in the right direction.
If you'd have said to Carrick and his crew, can you imagine? Yeah. You'd have said to him, right, here's the job, not giving it to Solskjaer, obviously, here's the job, you've got City and Arsenal, was it Tottenham? I can't remember. Fulham, Spurs, West Ham away. 3 of them at home. You got Arsenal away though, and you got West Ham away who are fighting. I'll give you 13 points. That was a quick math because I thought I was going to get that wrong there. 4 wins and a draw. He would have rugby tackled whoever it was that was giving it to him and taking those points.
Every United fan would have.
Absolutely. So that it's been a positive start for Manchester United. It just lacked some sparkle and bubble today, which sometimes can
Mikel Arteta's work at Arsenal is being viewed in an even brighter light after the recent coaching shakeups elsewhere. With Chelsea parting ways with Enzo Maresca and Manchester United moving on from Ruben Amorim, the contrast is hard to miss. Arsenal has kept moving forward under Arteta, giving him time through difficult stretches, and now seeing the payoff as the club pushes again in the Premier League title race. It also raises a bigger question about strategy. While Chelsea and United are changing direction again, Arteta has been in place for more than 6 years, outlasting a long list of managers across those two clubs in that span. That stability has become part of the story, and it was a major talking point on the Seeing Red podcast with Tom Canton and John Cross. Beyond reacting to Amorim's dismissal and breaking down wins over Aston Villa and Bournemouth, plus Manchester City's loss to Chelsea, the conversation kept returning to one core idea: structure. Not just who is the coach, but how much power that coach has, and whether the club is built to support a long-term project. Cross pointed to Arsenal as a rare example of patience turning into real strength. He argued that Arsenal's willingness to back Arteta through the messy early phases helped create the stable position they're in now, and that this kind of time and support investment is what can turn a club into something truly solid. Canton's response was sharp and honest. Arteta's arc, he said, has almost become a problem for other clubs, because it tempts them to keep coaches they probably shouldn't. But at the same time, it's still the best example of what can happen when you hire the right person and actually give them time. And that time wasn't smooth. The discussion highlighted how Arsenal could easily have pulled the plug early. 2 8th-place finishes, then 5th, missing out on the Champions League, and a Europa League semi-final exit to Unai Emery's Villarreal. Any of those moments could have pushed a club into panic mode. Instead, the argument is that Arsenal recognized the bigger reality. Arteta didn't have the resources to compete at the required level right away. The squad needed a rebuild. The roster needed to be refreshed. That's where the comparison to Chelsea and United becomes even more pointed. The podcast suggested that recruitment and decision-making structure are often what determine whether a coach survives. If signings don't land, results suffer. And if a coach doesn't have enough influence, or the club isn't aligned behind a clear plan, it becomes much easier for things to collapse. In other words, giving time only works if the coach is empowered to shape the team in a way that matches the vision. Cross also emphasized that Arteta's situation stood out because he pushed to be a true manager, not just a head coach. The idea is simple. Top coaches want a real say in the build, and they want the club to match what they were promised when they took the job. The discussion even pointed to how Arteta survived a low moment, like the home loss to Burnley, because the club stayed behind him. And in that period, with fan pressure affected by the COVID-era environment, Arsenal were able to hold their nerve instead of reacting emotionally. Meanwhile, the big unknowns now shift back to Chelsea and Manchester United. Who replaces Amorim? And how will the next chapter look at Chelsea? The answers may come sooner than people expect. But for Arsenal, the reality stays the same. They're stable, they're moving forward, and they're still in the title chase, while others are starting over again. And that contrast can shape how people judge every manager in the league. Because when two massive clubs hit the reset button again, it forces the same question Cross raised on the show. Is the quick switch actually fixing the problem, or just delaying the real work? The bigger takeaway from the discussion is that time isn't a magic solution by itself. It only becomes valuable when the club's structure supports the plan, and when the coach has the influence to push the squad in the direction he believes it needs to go. That's why the distinction between head coach and manager kept coming up. The podcast point is that if a coach is expected to own the results, he usually wants a meaningful say in the decisions that shape those results. And if he doesn't get that, patience alone won't save him. That's also where Arteta's early struggles get reframed. Those finishes and setbacks could have become a reason to panic. Instead, they became evidence of why alignment matters, because Arsenal chose to treat them as part of a build, not a final verdict. And once the squad was reshaped the way the club believed it needed to be, the results started to reflect that long-term approach. So the repercussions aren't just about Arsenal looking stable, it's about how stability changes your margin for error. When you don't reset every year, you're not constantly starting from zero. You're building on decisions, learning from setbacks, and keeping a clearer identity. For Chelsea and Manchester United, the immediate consequence is obvious. They're changing direction again, which means the next appointment carries even more weight. Because every new coach isn't just judged on results. He's judged on whether the club is finally giving him the structure and authority that the role demands. That's why the question at the end matters so much. Who will replace Amorim? And how will Liam Rosenior do at Chelsea? Because those answers will test the exact theme the show kept returning to. Time, support, structure, and control. And for Arsenal, it's a different kind of pressure. Stability doesn't guarantee trophies, but it does keep you in the fight longer. And right now, while others restart, Arsenal get to stay focused on what they're already doing, chasing the Premier League title.